Anansi, a prominent character in Akan folklore originating from Ghana and the Ivory Coast, embodies the essence of a trickster. Derived from the word meaning spider, the name Anansi reflects his versatile nature, often depicted as a spider, a human, or a hybrid with spider-like attributes. Known for his cunning and ability to outsmart adversaries, Anansi's tales have sparked debates concerning their classification as folklore or mythology. Opinions diverge regarding Anansi's status. Some argue that his lineage as the son of Niam, the sky god, elevates him to the realm of gods, thus deeming his stories as mythological. Others emphasize his mortal qualities and his role as an intermediary between his father and the world, leading them to perceive his tales as folk stories. This discourse extends beyond Anansi, encompassing myths and folklore from various cultures. Originally transmitted orally, Anansi's stories were not recorded until later periods, similar to the dissemination of the Vodun religion from West Africa to Haitian voodoo. Through the transatlantic slave trade, Anansi's tales and Akan folklore traveled to the Caribbean and North America, becoming invaluable memories and traditions for those forcibly uprooted from their homelands. Consequently, Anansi's significance grew even more pronounced. Anansi's narratives frequently portray his triumph over seemingly insurmountable challenges, where he outwits adversaries of greater power. It is evident why Anansi became a symbol of hope and rebellion during times of enslavement, as his stories embodied the qualities necessary to overcome oppressors. The story of the lion and the tiger exemplifies this theme, as the lion asserts superiority over the tiger, and Anansi, beneath the tiger, must submit to both. However, Anansi manipulates the situation by sowing doubt in the lion's mind, leading to the downfall of both adversaries. One of Anansi's most renowned tales revolves around his quest to acquire the stories of the sky god. Initially, these stories and their accompanying wisdom belonged solely to Niam. Desiring this knowledge, Anansi proposes to purchase them. Niam scoffs at the idea, challenging Anansi to complete a series of seemingly impossible tasks involving capturing dangerous animals, Onini the python, Osebo the leopard, the Umboro hornet, and the fairy Malaysia. To complicate matters, Anansi's mother is included in the list. Anansi returns home and collaborates with his wife, Aso, and mother to devise strategies for capturing each animal. With a combination of cunning and resourcefulness, Anansi successfully traps the python using vines and a palm tree branch, captures the hornets by exploiting their fear of rain, and ensnares the leopard by setting up a pit concealed with branches. In different versions, Anansi either aids the leopard using his web but ultimately betrays him, or he deceives the leopard, placing him in a vulnerable position before rendering him unconscious. Having achieved the seemingly impossible, Anansi presents the captured animals to Niam, fulfilling his promise. Through his wit and ingenuity, Anansi not only secures the sky god stories but also emerges as a legendary figure whose tales continue to inspire and resonate with diverse audiences across time and space. Anansi devised a cunning plan to ensnare the fairy by fashioning a doll covered in sticky sap from a tree. He strategically placed mashed yam beneath a tree frequented by the fairies, luring the fairy with the enticing food. Manipulating the doll with his web strings, Anansi made it nod when the fairy requested yam. However, when the doll failed to show gratitude, the offended fairy slapped it, only to find her hands firmly stuck to the adhesive surface. Anansi then revealed himself, immobilizing the helpless fairy and carrying her home before returning to the sky god to fulfill his agreement. Presenting both the fairy and his mother, Anansi fulfilled his promise, impressing Niam, who acknowledged his triumph in contrast to the unsuccessful attempts of mighty kingdoms. As a result, Niam proclaimed that all stories would henceforth be known as spider stories. The tale of how wisdom spread throughout the world reveals a different facet of Anansi, showcasing his human qualities rather than his intellectual prowess. On a stormy day, Anansi decided to gather all the world's wisdom and keep it for himself. He placed the wisdom inside a large pot and attempted to ascend the tallest tree, believing it to be an ideal hiding place. However, the weight of the pot impeded his progress, and his youngest son witnessed his futile endeavors. The wise son suggested tying the pot to himself, allowing him to climb freely. Yet, Anansi, stubborn and driven by greed, dismissed the advice. In a moment of frustration, the pot slipped from Anansi's grasp and shattered, scattering wisdom throughout the forest. Anansi realized the value of his son's wisdom, understanding the importance of sharing knowledge rather than hoarding it. The final story revolves around Anansi assuming the role of the sky god's messenger and centers on a competition among Niam's 3 children, the night, the moon, and the sun. Niam intended to choose a chief through a guessing game, involving giving a name to a yam. Anansi, falsely claiming knowledge of the name, uncovered the secret plan. Disguised as a bird, he overheard Niam's intentions and shared the information with the youngest son, who had shown him great kindness. Anansi created drums to aid in remembering the yam's name. When the children gathered before Niam, the eldest and second sons failed to guess correctly, resulting in punishments associated with darkness and moonlight. However, the youngest son, assisted by Anansi's drums, made the correct guess, pleasing Niam and becoming the chosen chief. Anansi's character is truly fascinating, as he engages with gods and beings more powerful than himself. At times, he is bestowed with supernatural abilities, granting him control over natural elements and positioning him as a deity. On other occasions, he assumes the mischievous role of a trickster spirit, resembling a lesser god. Countless stories recount Anansi's adventures and escapades, leaving room for the exploration of additional spider stories should there be a sufficient interest.